This is a good spot. No, because everyone can see how shiny you are. Really.
Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. This is Weenie, and she's just back there. She's just looking at us with judgment. She seems very disdainful right now. Either that or she's just sleepy. And we are here today to do the mid-year, no. Oh, my brain is not braining. We are here to do the end of the year book tag because it is the end of the year. We are here. We have reached the final stretch, and I don't know how we got here, and it feels very surreal. But we're here, kids, and there's nothing we can do about it. Winnie has one paw on each one of my hips. An interesting choice, but I like it. Sorry, Winnie, I gotta get up. I gotta grab my paper. Let's do a book tag. All right, let's go through these. The first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Yes, there are two. There are two in particular that I really want to finish, and I don't know what my problem is and why I haven't. The first one being The Last Magician, and this is by Lisa Maxwell. I am 110 pages into this book and was really enjoying the crap out of it, and then I don't know what happened to me. I actually tried to read this for my 100th book of the year, which I did a vlog. Also, it's very exciting for us that she's decided it's party time. But this was the book that I thought was gonna be my 100th book, and I only made it 110 pages into this. I was really enjoying this. What I remember about it is that we have a version of New York, one that is happening, I believe, in like the 1920s, where some power has taken over and put some sort of magical force field around New York, and any person that can do magic, that is born with the ability to do some sort of magic, that travels into New York is then stuck in New York. And the Order, I believe is what they're called, is kind of this nefarious group that is trying to control all of these people that have magic. Each individual in this world has a very specific magic. You're not like a wizard that can do all sorts of things. You are born with an affinity for a certain type of magic. We also have a main character in here who has an affinity for time magic. She's able to jump back and forwards through time, and in doing so accidentally changes some things and is now on a quest to put things right. This was super fun. There's a heist element to this. I love heist books. I don't know what my problem is, and I really want to finish this before the end of the year. The other book was also a book that I picked up, I think in that same vlog, but then went forward and read some more in it at another point in time, and that is The Rune of Kings by Jenn Lyons. This is the first book in a series, and I am 76 pages into this. This one starts off with our main character being imprisoned in some sort of tower, and his jailer is a shape-shifting demon type creature that is currently in the form of a woman, but I believe this shapeshifter, they can change into anything they want to. And the jailer slash demon slash shapeshifter, just they're very dynamic. They have lots of layers. They're like an ogre. They have lots of layers. They prompt the imprisoned character to give their life story. And so not only are we getting chapters from that person recounting their life story, we also get chapters from the demon who is able to enter this person's mind and tell bits and pieces of the story as well. But we also have footnotes from a third character that is reviewing the story and telling you whether or not these bits and pieces are true or false. And I was enjoying the crap out of it. I want to finish it. How about that? I want to finish it before the end of the year. Our next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the next part of the year? And the answer to that is no. I feel like I read all of my autumnal books during the spooky season, because for me, autumn means gothic and horror, and I don't feel like I have a book in particular that I'm gonna like transition. I mean, as soon as we had like one cold morning, I immediately picked up a book that took place in winter. I'm ready for winter books, which for me means fantasy, lots and lots of fantasy. I'll probably still be picking up horror books as well, but for me, cold means fantasy. So no, I don't have a transition book. I jumped right from one to the other. Our next question is there a new release that you are waiting for? And the answer is absolutely yes. I am anticipating with every ounce of my being the next book in the, I'm gonna call it the Divine Rivals duology, but I don't know if that's called, Ruthless, Vows, which is the follow-up book to Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I read that book last month. It was my whole personality for at least 48 hours, if not longer. It was so flippin' good. Here's how I will sum that book up for you. It is I believe it has been classified as YA, but it didn't feel YA, which I don't know what that means. I just said it, but It is the story of Iris, and she lives in a fantasy world, but she's just an everyday girl. See, Iris comes from a rough upbringing, and her brother has gone off to war, and she is now competing with a colleague for one position at a newspaper. This colleague that she's competing against, well, they happen to come from the upper crust, and they have this real kind of rivalry between the two of them. They love picking at each other. One day, Iris is feeling a little low and wants to write a letter to her brother, but doesn't know where he is and doesn't know how to get this letter to him. And so she writes this letter on a typewriter and just slips it into her wardrobe. And unbeknownst to her, someone receives this letter and they write back. The background of this story is a war between gods in a fantasy world, but you're spending so much time with these two ordinary people who just have magical elements around them. I was absolutely obsessed with this, and I cannot wait. The ending of the first book is heart-wrenching. I was so emotional at the end of that book, and so I can't wait to pick up and see what happens to these characters, and I need to know. And so the book I'm anticipating the most is Ruthless Vows. Our next question is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Oh, goodness gracious. I want to read a lot of books before the end of the year, but let's see which ones. I have kind of top priorities right now. The first one that I definitely want to get to by the end of the year is Two Twisted Crowns, and this is by Rachel Gillig. This is the second book. First book is One Dark Window. I don't know what the name of this The Shepherd King is the name of this. I think this is just going to be a duology. I think this is the conclusion, but I don't know where the first book is. Am I having some sort of break? Oh my gosh, it's right here. I picked this book up really not expecting too much from it. I knew it was a fantasy that had a strong romance happening within it, but I don't know if I would actually classify this as a fantasy romance so much as this is a fantasy that has a strong romance through line. This is the story of Elsbeth, and she lives in a magical world that sounds very gothic and gloomy, surrounded by a mist-filled forest, and she lives in a place where there is a magical illness that if you contract this illness, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either 1, you die, the end, or 2, you survive, but you gain some sort of magical ability. Well, the magical abilities that people gain, I am not 100% sure what's happening, but the dogs are going bananas. In this world, having these magical abilities that you gain from surviving this illness is illegal, and so secretly family members get sick and they keep them secret, and hopefully they survive and they don't have any magic. Well, Elsbeth, years ago, got this illness, was hidden away until she survived, and her family thinks they're safe because she has no outwardly signs of magic. But Elsbeth does have magic, and her magic involves a nightmare, is what she calls him, and he is a monster that is just squatting on her brain and giving her commentary on everything that's going on around her. This book was a lot of fun. I really liked it. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the magic system that was, because there are several different kinds of magic and different magic systems set up in this world, but I went into it not really expecting much and having a really good time. And I need to finish up the story. I need to see where everything goes because this bad boy ends on a hell of a cliffhanger. And you want to know how the story is going to go on from there. The next book that I also want to pick up before the end of the year is going to be The Witcher, The Sword of Destiny. I have read I should have pulled these all off of my bookshelf previously, but I did not. I have read The Last Wish, and I want to continue on because I got these beautiful copies. And if I'm going to be starting new series like a nut job, I start all these series and literally do not continue on. But I had a good time with this and I want to keep going. So I want to pick this one up. It's not that big. I think it ends up being it's probably 400 pages. Yeah, my copy is 402 pages. Gosh, I almost got that right on the nose. So this shouldn't take me a long time to get through. I have an absolutely beautiful copy. Mine has illustrations. That cover is absolutely bananas. But even my hardcovers have quotes from the stories on them. I need to continue on with series. And I say all that, and then I immediately am going to talk about how one of the books that I really want to pick up before the end of the year is I want to read the first book in The Lord of the Rings. I have read the entire trilogy before, but it was a really, really long time ago. I was absolutely obsessed with the movies when I was younger, and so I have always wanted to go back and reread this, and so I have a bind up of all 3 in this behemoth, and I really just want to get through the Fellowship first, because I don't want to commit to just sitting down and binging the entire book. I feel like that is not how I work and how my brain works, but I'd really like to at least get through fellowship before the end of the year. Our next question is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Yes. Because I actually did a reading vlog pretty recently where I picked up my first 2 actual Stephen King books that I had ever read, and I was really floored. I don't know why I was just so floored by it. I really don't know why I thought I was special and that I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna be impressed by Stephen King. Who do I think I am? But all that to say, I read 2 of his books and really enjoyed it, and so now I have another one, The Shining. I actually got this copy secondhand off Pango, and I have a feeling, seeing as how this is again one of those books that Stephen King fans just rant and rave about, and when I talked about me reading, I read Pet Sematary and Salem's Lot, and in reading both of those books, everyone was like, oh, have you read The Shining? Hey, have you read The Shining? Oh my God, you're gonna love The Shining. I think I'm gonna love this book. I think this is gonna be a new favorite. I don't think that I'm a special girl that's gonna be like, no, The Shining wasn't for me. I think that I'm gonna join the club, and I'm gonna get my official jacket. And all my books just fell over. Maybe don't stack them all haphazardly, my friend. Okay, and the last question is, have you already started making reading plans for the next year? Not extremely solid reading plans. I don't work like that. I'm a moody mood reader. I can have like tentative plans, but if I try and give myself something too rigid, it does not work for me. So I will say the one plan I have, and I've kind of already talked about it, is that I really want to continue on with series. I have not been good this year about continuing on with series. I really have gotten to the point where I read 1 or 2 books in a series and they just never finish, even though I am enjoying myself, and that just doesn't make sense. So my big plan for next year is I'd really like to read, especially because I have a lot of books continuing on in a series that are just sitting on my TBR. I really would like to continue on with some series, complete out some series next year. But other than that, I'm just trying to be kind to myself with reading, so just letting my moody mood reader live her best life, you know? But that, kids, is where we're gonna end this pizza party. That is the end of the year book tag. I am just in awe of the fact that it's the end of the year. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. But I feel like I've had a pretty good reading year so far. We've still got some time to keep that trend going. I had a little bit of a reading slump like earlier on in the year, but I came out of her and forged ahead. So hopefully I continue on with that. If you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.